Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Off the Rack. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
This is a comic book review show where we take the books of the past week, recap and review them, tell you what you thought about them, or the recommended comics that are coming out this week that we think you should check out. Of course, it's also a news and reviews show. We talk about the latest topics of things that are coming out and happening in the comic book world. I don't know if we have time for that, but we'll try to get to it as best we can.
Come on. Get that energy up. Yeah. More passion. More passion. More footwork. More footwork.
You did it.
I did. I was like, is it passion or is it energy next?
It's
is
both.
It footwork?
It's
I know
all
it's
those
all
things.
of those things, but I wasn't sure the order.
Oh, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's my own thing now. Now I did that. You did that? I did that. It was me.
Yeah.
So what do you got for news? I feel like there's news stuff.
There's all kinds of news stuff.
I feel like there's like lots of news stuff. But pick one news stuff.
I mean, there's real news, and then there's like not news, and that's kind of like the thing I wanted to talk about was just like the not news thing.
Okay.
Because there's an element that I almost made a TikTok about, but then you rejected it.
I didn't reject it.
So,
I felt like,
excuse
me, it was a first draft. I feel like you just needed to circle back around and tighten up your thesis. You're an English guy. You should know these things.
The point being, there was this there's this chatter going on in the comic book sphere that I think people would love to have us share our opinions on if people were genuinely interested in that topic. But I don't think that naturally people are interested in that topic. I think that the topic is like being stoked, and I don't mean like radical, by like grifters who need to manufacture content like that, like need to manufacture rage and outrage and frustration like that. Like somebody took a video from like, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
And they like made this like clip out of it and they shared it on Twitter, which is a rapidly declining social media concept that and they were like, this is the thing, right? And it's like they didn't take the thing that's obvious about it, they took the other thing, like the wrong interpretation of it.
Right.
And they were like, this is our avatar. And I'm like, probably not. But these grifters like took that clip and they were like, let's make money off of it, like let's get people upset, because like that's how I make my money, is make people more and more mad. It's very much a Marvel method of doing things, just keeping your audience perpetually outraged and frustrated. The difference being you'll burn your audience out, so you have to keep like refreshing the audience anyway. But they were really upset and they were saying like old comics are better than new comics, and it's like and more importantly that the comic book industry is dying. And I'm like, oh, what an original headline. I haven't seen that headline for about like 3 days, and it hasn't been a headline like since the 1950s. But they're like, this clip from like almost a decade ago is absolutely proof positive that like my earlier codicil on how the comic book industry is dying is 100% correct. And it better not be, because like you literally make a living off of it, like off of being mad about it all the time. So I hope it doesn't die. And you clearly don't believe it's going to die because you're not hedging your bets by coming up with other content. But anyway, people are mad, or at least certain people are mad, and they're mad by design. They're mad by like, by audience manipulation.
Right.
And that's the point that I wanted to make, was like, I haven't seen any chatter about it. I'm not saying like, because I haven't heard of it, that means that like no one's heard of it. No one's really talking about it. It means like, I'm not seeing it in any spaces. Like I'm not seeing it outside of like the ones, like the place from which it was born,
Right.
It didn't create outrage when the clip was made in a publicly like viewed YouTube video years ago, and it continued to not, create any kind of controversy or discussion, but suddenly it was manufactured by it from someone like clipping it and putting it on Twitter. But the reason why I'm like frustrated by it isn't like the grifters are nothing new, and they're just like a part of the ongoing narrative now. Like, and we just have to.
Yeah, they don't all wear a big red mask over their face.
No, villains who twirl their mustaches are easily spotted, but those who clothe themselves in good intentions are well camouflaged. And the point I'm trying to make isn't necessarily that like that exists. That's like saying that it's going to rain one day. But the point is, when I see it, the reason why I even saw it is because I saw comic book industry professionals being like, that sucks, or I don't agree, or I can't believe that you would say that. Except they wouldn't even say rhetorically, I can't believe you'd say that. They're like, wrong, and here's why. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you acknowledging it? Like, the worst thing you can do in any space where you have a vested percentage of your audience that is perpetually outraged, or they are like galvanized by outrage, the worst thing you can do is to give them oxygen. It's just genuinely the worst thing you can do. Like worse than agreeing with them, worse than like, it's just don't give them oxygen and they go away. And I likened it to letters pages, where it was like, the comic book letters page was a thing from old comic books, the ones that were better than today. And occasionally you'd see like a letter of dissent, someone being like, I don't like what you did, or I don't agree with this. And then for the most part, it was positive, and people use that as like a way of as like a litmus test. Maybe it's a way of like checking the temperature on like on the culture at large. Are people mad? Are people upset?
Right.
But like that was a heavily curated thing.
Yes.
It was meticulously curated, just like the editor's column or the pages themselves that house the art. Every element of the book was made specifically, curated specifically to drive a narrative, whether that narrative was entertainment or the masthead of the audience or of the publisher. It's trying to show you like and by printing like a letter of dissent, there's usually very carefully curated. Any angry or outraged letter. Was either like thrown away or was read and gone like, well, if we do have like a negative letter, let's put the one with the spelling errors in there, really like really take the wind out of their sails, or something to that effect. And it's like, why did they stop doing that? Is my point, because letters pages have kind of gone the way of the dinosaur, but like but because you don't need a letters page anymore when you can just like tweet at your favorite creator or go to their Substack and pay them $5 a month and they'll just email you. But with that in mind, the policy hasn't changed of like, don't give negative, crazy people oxygen, like don't acknowledge it.
Right.
I remember having that argument with Mark Waid back at Baltimore Comic-Con many years ago. He was in a bit of a pickle one time, and I was like, why, didn't you create basically Boom Studios? Like, don't you know how like a letters column is run? You didn't print every insane letter. You didn't acknowledge every single member of the audience. You carefully curated that audience until you found like what is the baseline of what you want from your audience. And he was like, I know, but like, you got to stand up to bullies. And I'm like, yeah, but like, is that what this is? Or are you like trying to like pat yourself on the back? Like, and I'm not like giving Wade a hard time. I mean, I did then, but like, I'm saying, like, don't, I resist the urge. It's easier than ever to reach out to your favorite creator, and it's easier than ever for your favorite creator to be upset by something that somebody says, which is why everybody needs to be more like discerning and more like measured, and to be like, to just take another minute. There was an element, I don't remember if it was on Twitter or I think it was on YouTube actually, where it was like, you write a comment and then you hit send and it would say something like, you sure?
Yeah.
But that was in place of having like, a fully developed frontal cortex that like makes you think, are you sure? You want to say that, do that, act like that, tweet that. And I'm just saying people need to chill out. But more importantly, comic book creators need to like remember their history and be like, yo, don't just acknowledge that. Just there's a block button now.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and like I've seen this like statistic floating around on the internet. I don't know much about the source. I think it's from Pew Research Center.
Okay.
From back in like 2019, 2020.
Okay, so about 4 years ago.
It is a little older.
But still within the framework. It's still less than 5 years ago.
Yeah. And again, I don't really know what they were 100% looking for. But they did an analysis and they came to the conclusion that 10% or that 92% of all tweets were from like 10% of users. Like you're going to see a lot of a certain number, like a smaller portion of people.
Yeah.
Which I was like, I don't know how much I don't know. Again, I don't know how they came to that conclusion. I don't know how much I really believe what sample study they used or how they were able to come to that conclusion. But then I did think about the fact that at the end of the day, this like a lot of people like I follow are I follow some celebrities or writers or whatever. And like they do generate a lot of content and like people that I personally know don't.
That's true.
But they're on there.
Right.
And so I take what you read with take the majority of people on this blah blah blah. And
yeah, the majority of people who use that service.
Yeah, it's not a majority necessarily of people.
Yeah,
it's a majority of people, or like it's a percentage of people who are using this one thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
and using it actively,
which is the context that you need to really think about that. But unfortunately, like we're seeing, as ever, we're seeing that, like the erosion of context and the requirement for that.
I feel like that's an important thing to remember,
right? Which is why another thing,
and that's another part of like that whole letters page thing too.
Yeah,
is that like
how many people take the time to write a letter and mail it to the publisher?
Right,
but you've just removed that like kind of barrier.
Yeah. I mean, like that's always existed. They want to cultivate that. People who aren't a fan of something want to cultivate something. People who are a fan of something want to cultivate. Like marketers want to cultivate the appearance of something. I mean, like even like if you think about like skincare, right?
Sure.
It's like, oh, like 90% of people saw this result from this product.
Yeah.
Well, if you look, a lot of times those studies are studies done by the company. You don't know the by which
90% of the people we contacted and provided with this material saw a result.
Like, and that goes across both things, where it's like the publisher can be like, well, we know that we're getting this type of feedback, and hooray for us.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
And then you have people who, again, like if they're not a fan of something, they're only going to talk to the people who aren't a fan of it, and they're going to be like the percentage of people I talked to weren't a fan of it. Well, it's because you went to the people who you knew weren't a fan of it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like all my friends agree that this sucks. And it's like, yeah, well, you probably all agree with each other.
If I poll my 3 cats at dinner time, 100% of cats are hungry at
Yeah. No, it's true. And that's where we are. Like, it's just keeping that in mind at all times.
That's really what it is. It's that, like, taking the information.
Everyone in my echo chamber thinks that this sucks. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense that you've curated an echo chamber and now you all agree with each other. Like,
just always keep that in mind, just in general, like in any part of your life. Take this stuff in, but like often with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Understand, like, where did that come from? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And then make a decision on it. And, whatever decision you make, that's your decision.
Exactly.
But let it be your decision.
Right. And make sure that you are having that decision. Like, it's so important to like live and grow and experience new cultures. And more important, when I say new cultures, I don't mean like go to Europe and learn what it's like to be a German. Like, I mean, like, go out into the world and like deliberately involve yourself with people who you don't know. It's like taking yourself from like middle school to high school to college or whatever that then you might be post high school, and make sure to familiarize yourself, surround yourself with people who like you find interesting, but not necessarily who you agree with. Don't like try to find out if they agree with you. Find out like if they're interesting. I remember like it's very important to me. It was very important to me. Like somewhere towards the end of high school that I was like, I remember even in like middle, like like in the middle of high school, like sophomore year, I was very drawn to people who were smarter than I am. I was like always fascinated by them. I was interested in them and I wanted to know them. And I wanted to know them because I knew that they were going to challenge me. Not like that I was going to go on some like insane adventure or like, I was Batman who was like, oh, that person can definitely teach me what I need to know for the mission. It was just like, that guy's smart. What's his and he seems to be engaging with me.
Yeah.
Maybe he sees something in me that has some kind of value. That's really nice. But also like why and like how? And I'm lucky that like now like all of my friends are smarter than me. Everybody that I associate with is smarter than I am. And that's like that's your goal. That should be your goal, is that everybody should be, at least you should have some feeling like at least in some regard, in some significant way, they're better than or smarter than you. I think so.
I agree. I'm just like, I don't no.
Well,
I don't qualify.
You absolutely do. But that just also
because I fixed the sink today.
You fixed the sink today, and I was gonna keep going. Anyway, so not to get into like a soapbox. I know I kind of did, but it's more like, hey folks, like make sure to understand like digital media literacy, like and it's super important, and it might be something that I want to teach someday. Just like, hey, go out into the just don't just go in the if you're a kid, you go into like a older kid's sphere, you're going to assume that kid knows everything and they're like just as clueless as you, but if they put on a good facade, then you'll march into hell with them. And it's like, that's dangerous.
Ride or die.
Yeah. And the internet is very much like just that, but on a grander scale.
Yeah.
So anyway, it used to be you'd go, out and you'd find somebody like that. And then like, you'd go home and they'd be like, oh my God, the Wilkins kid, really? Like, that's who you're with? His dad like drinks paint, and it's like, oh, that completely changed. But like, you're just getting information from some guy,
right?
Or some gal from like, Timbuktu. And it's like, well, you have no context for them. You have no idea who that is. Anyway.
What about Sinister Sons?
Sinister Sons. Oh my God, that's right. We didn't talk about that.
I was like, wait, you're not going to talk about that?
No, I think I have to talk
I
about
think
that.
you
So
do.
we actually, it was funny. I didn't even see it in my feed. I have a mutual colleague who showed me this and was just like, he claims he almost fell out of his chair from laughter for seeing it. And I have to make sure his name isn't anywhere near this image that I'm about to share. But we saw, folks, if you are really sad to see Super Sons go away, look, Damien and John as children, what a combo. Who'd have thought? You know who did? Peter J. Tomasi. That's who thought. Peter J. Tomasi had that idea. And unfortunately, because of the aging of John, like that idea was wrenched from him.
It's taken away.
Or so we thought, because coming soon, in February, we're getting Peter J. Tomasi back at DC Comics with Sinister Sons. Bad, mad, and angry at dad. It's the sons of Sinestro and Zod teaming up. And yeah, folks, this is insane. And I think we need to talk about it because it's so funny and laughable.
Right. Are you a little surprised that they went with Zod and not like Lobo?
Well, they've already done that.
I know.
Like Crush exists,
but
and
like
she's too young. Like, or she's too
no,
old.
but it's like, and here's a son of Lobo, a secret young
yeah,
son.
I can imagine them actually talking about that, and then being like, and Joshua Williamson being like, "I'm doing a thing with Lobos, like people. You can't, you know." Zod's son works best because Chris actually exists. There's a long history of Christopher Kent, and I loved that character. Pre-John, I was like, "This is Superman's son."
Yeah.
So now here he is, and along with Sinestro's son, and you know, at first I was like, oh, I don't want to see Sinestro's dad. But then I remembered that Sinestro does have a kid, but they're much older, and you know, but like bad, mad, and angry at dad. The Daily Bugle. It's hip. It's now. It's wow and how. That's what that is. That is like, you know who came up with this slogan? Well, you know, I came up with it's bad, or yeah, I came up with bad. But then Erickson down at accounting, he came up with mad. And I got a couple lattes in him. But then angry at dad, that was all me again. Came right back with it. Now, this is just, everything about this is just like, what are you doing? Like, do you really think that people are going to fall for this? Like that is not why people didn't like people didn't like Super Sons because there was a book about two boys.
Maybe this will be charming.
I mean, it's drawn by David LaFuente and it's written by Peter J. Tomasi. There will be some element of quality, but the bad, mad, and angry at dad thing sucks so much. Like for me,
that's
I'm like,
why I think I thought of Lobo is because that's like Lobo level for me. I'm like,
yeah.
If you put Lobo on there, I'm like, oh, now we're doing a joke.
Yeah, right.
We're doing a joke.
Like when they brought Lobo back and the book was called Lobo's Back and it was on his back, like.
I do kind of wish they had like the pixelated glasses on him.
Yeah, like a deal with it. I think that's what they're trying to do. I think,
but I want that graphic.
I know. I think they were probably worried that it would like people wouldn't understand. Like first of all, bad. Okay, Chris wasn't, but here we go. Mad. Sure,
maybe he's mad.
That.
Maybe it's bad. Mad. Like you read it left to right. Bad. Sinestro's kid.
Right.
Mad. Chris.
Yeah.
And then they're both angry at dad
right,
for some reason.
But you had mad. Mad is just a synonym for angry. So you just have two redundant, words for angry.
Maybe it's madness. Madness!
Right. One is, bad, crazy, and angry at dad. But then it wouldn't rhyme. But like still,
or maybe he's a mad lad.
But that's true.
Like he's just daring.
Or they're just mad. But they're so mad, but also angry at dad. So it's like, so it's like they're mad, right? But at everything. Then we narrow it down. They're mad at dad. Like this is so stupid. This is, you know what this is? This reeks of that DC contest they did where they're like, here's about 7 or 8 different like covers and you vote for them and one of them will get a book. And then they went, oh, oops. We accidentally Peter J. Tomasi was wearing like a UPS uniform. He went into DC and he's like, here, sign for this. And they're like, okay, here you go. I'll take that package. He's like, haha, you signed me on for 6 issues of Sinister Sons.
So I wish we had some sort of like, that they can like study your eye when you're looking at something.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time, or like, when you're looking at a website, like they can track where
what you're looking at,
what you're specifically what you're doing. Because I really wish you had that for when I saw that, because my brain was all over the place because I was like, Sinister Sins. That's weird.
Right.
But those aren't Marvel characters. Wait, that's by DC. Oh, wait, that's his sons. That's like, I think
the order of operations in your brain. for how that worked.
Yep.
It's just.
I was like, that's not Mr. Sinister.
No, I mean, not that anyone was really like. I'm not worried that they're like they'll confuse that with Sinister, but like Sinister Son. Oh my god, just so silly. It's very silly, and I can imagine people being really mad at me for being like, "How dare you criticize something for being silly? Weren't you just singing the praises of that Batman book about him being in space yesterday?" It's like, yeah, last week I was talking about Batman in space being kind of fun because it's silly. This just feels like you like that. You like those books about the boys. Here's some boys. They won't let me do anything with John and Damian anymore, but here's some guys you're probably gonna love.
Well, listen, I'm sure you're going to try at least one issue.
I mean, I have to now.
I feel like
there's going to be no way I can't.
You're going to have to.
Yeah.
I feel like you're definitely going to have to. I don't know. It's silly.
Yeah.
And I do like some silly things sometimes. I think for me, it's the bad, mad,
angry at dad. That was like, that's where it really pushes it
again.
Over the
like
edge.
as much as I will talk about Lobo and we'll talk about him, like I don't like Lobo.
No.
and for a lot of and I get why people do like him, but I just don't jive with him whatsoever. I just have no connection to him, and I feel like that slogan is very him, and that's why I'm like, no, this is not for me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
So. We should also mention this show is sponsored by viewers like you.
It sure is.
If you're watching the show live, you can sponsor today's show by using Super Chat. Ask a question or comment. We'll read here on the show, and it'll be here forever, like Bryce Harriet, who says, "Hey guys, Sal's right about them being about there being more good comics than ever before. It's good to read after my comics broke my heart phase that we all have. It's true, we do. We all get into that period, and you either grow up and move on, and then find new books, or you don't. So good. I'm glad." Brendan O'Brien, hello, Sal and Tiffany. Are there any holiday traditions you started together as a couple, or any you look forward to each year? Comic Papa always gets paid. Thank you, Brendan.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sam Raimi, for writing that line
for you,
for me to co-opt.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Star Wars ornaments on a tree is very much a tradition that you started that I co-opted, and it's become a part of our tradition. Absolutely.
It's also like Christmas Eve. There's a very specific street we like to go up because they do like a huge like lights thing.
Yep, but it's very short street, but it's still a very spectacular.
Yeah,
sequence.
it's not, but it's just like
it's not a big commitment to go.
It's not, but like we do it every Christmas Eve.
Yep.
It is.
They put up luminaries. It's really nice.
Must do for us. What are other traditions that we do?
We make sure to watch
a
bunch of Christmas specials that happen like closer to the holiday season. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas from Rankin and Bass is the one that we watch on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
But we watch a number of them. I try to make sure that I get like Garfield in as close to the end of the holiday season as possible because it's my favorite Christmas special of all time. And so forth. They're making sure we watch those. Having a lot of cookies. I really liked, I tried to get this as a tradition. I don't think I'm going to get it, but making sure that there's like cookies in boxes all over the house so that no matter where you are, if you just reach, you can have cookies. That was the thing that I really wanted.
I know. I just feel like that's just too much cookies because the only people who are going to eat those cookies are you and me.
I don't think that's true because we have people over. So,
But last year we made our own like Italian cookies.
Yes.
And I want to do that again this year. I want that to be a tradition.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I love
fun.
That. Right. And Colin Keith says, Comic Pop woo to you too. It's weird they skipped the team assembly aspect of Gang War, except for Drew. And we just see them all together at the start. Yeah, I think that, speaking of Gang War, there's a number of different Gang War tie-ins. It's all over the place. Everyone's talking, well, nobody's talking about it, but like
Gang War.
Yay, you did it.
Wait, we haven't had a war in a while. I haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, Spider-Man. So from Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr., Spider-Man Gang War or Amazing Spider-Man Gang War. It's a tie-in to Gang War. This is not the kickoff.
With the Ninja Turtles.
Right? Look at them. This is not actually the kickoff to Gang War, but it is for me because I don't care about Gang War. And I
like the Luke Cage book.
The Luke Cage book was cool, but like I read Spider-Man, or at least I try to. Marvel really doesn't want me to, especially when it looks like this. But it's okay. So Gang War, the Gang War's begun. This Gang War has, and we see like a team of semi-street level characters all already assembled. They're dealing with like the turf war that's going on between like Hammerhead and Tombstone,
like all of them,
all of them, and more, and like
the rest,
and it's like okay, and I don't know. It's just you see Spider-Man actually like being capable and effective in this book. So if you've been listening that, it's happening in this. Though they also need to like. It's funny because Zeb Wells has like been all over the place. Like there was the whole like, what did Peter Parker do? And then it's like, oh, let's take a year to forget about that and not worry about it. And then we do address it, and it was like something really desperate and had to do with Mary Jane, and like, okay, well, now everyone's mad about that. But then he remembered that like he still wanted to keep getting paid for doing this book, and so like the book is still coming out, and he's like, oh right, like I wanted to do that thing where it's like, what did Peter Parker do? People are mad at him about that. And so like people are mad at him about that, even though we've had like 2 years worth of Spider-Man stories where nobody cared about that.
Right.
So it's just like we're all over the place when it comes to that. And it's just like, yeah, it's doing its thing. It's just like, whatever. Gang War is a thing that I always liked the concept of, that I saw in like older Spider-Man comics. But I don't know.
I like the idea that, like, you know, it's because of this law that came out. Like, you know,
Fisk's
I'm
law.
like, it's kind of neat. Like,
Yeah.
that is cool.
Yes, I agree.
Like, that's a cool premise to lead us to this point.
Yes, the theater of it, or at least the framework of it. Like, the Fisk, before he left, enacted a law banning superheroes in New York City, and then a superhero becomes a mayor of New York City.
Yeah,
and he's like, his hands are tied on this law. And so we see the heroes have to like deal with it, and you know, so there's a huge gang war, and the heroes are not legally allowed to do anything about it, though they do. And so because they do anyway, it's like, well, does the law? I mean, like, are we even dealing with the law anymore? Like, I know that that's like a looming problem, but
they
like,
are in the Luke Cage book.
Yes,
because in the Luke Cage book, like, you know, everybody keeps reminding Luke, like, hey, you can't do anything to help, man.
Yeah,
because like you're a superhero, but you're also the mayor, and I don't want to arrest you, but I will.
No, it's true. Yeah. Well, but like, he's not going to, or maybe he'll be forced to at the 0 hour. But it's just, I don't know. This at least feels more like a Spider-Man comic than it has felt. Though it does also feel like there's a lot going on, more going on than Wells can handle, because the book does that thing that I hate where it stops. Like the book just literally goes, and then it just hits a page turn moment, but you have to wait until the next issue to see where it goes.
Right.
And it's like, okay, if you were looking for a respite from what's been going on, you'll probably get it. I don't feel a lot of like extra Spider-Man stuff happening. Like, I doubt we're going to check in with Mary Jane, thank God, because we don't need that like wound reopened.
Right.
You know, it's really dealing with like Randy, Robbie Robertson's son, and Robbie, and Tombstone, and Beetle, and you know, like, okay, that's what Zeb Wells wants to focus on from Peter's like supporting cast. Sure. Like, okay, that's fine. Like, that is at least a welcome change from what we've been dealing with.
Right.
And like, maybe the fact that Spider-Man, like, you know, beat the living crap out of the Fantastic Four and Captain America will put him in a weird position where he only can team up with people like She-Hulk and Daredevil, Elektra Daredevil, that is, you know. And I don't know, like, this is what Spider-Man comics are kind of supposed to be. And with John Romita Jr.'s art, you're kind of like reminded or felt like you're in familiar waters, you know, but it's Romita Jr. not at his best, and it's a Spider-Man who has a lot of baggage. It's one of those things where it's like, I wonder like how much damage has been done to Spider-Man, where even if I get a good arc, can I trust it? Can I like it?
Right.
You know, like, or am I soured on this character at this point?
Oh boy.
But yeah, I don't know. You know, not obviously that's not true. Like, there's always going to be like a good Spider-Man story that comes out.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man's like Mickey Mouse, but they're not going to let him go. They're not going to relegate him to one book. But Amazing Spider-Man feels more like Amazing Spider-Man now than he had for the previous arc. Certainly, and you know, at least there's no rec rap. But like, but is a book good because at least it isn't what it was, you know? That's that's part of the reason why I had such a problem with like Nick Spencer's run, where I was like, this is fine, but it's not great. It's just not as bad as it had been, you know. I also really like the yellow motif on the logo / Spider-Man's lettering. I kind of dig it.
Yeah, I like it.
You know, it gives you that like caution please tape kind of sign, which I
Absolutely.
like. Yeah, it's good graphic work. I wouldn't have noticed if I was more in love with this series. So I guess that's a win.
Okay.
What are you up to?
Oh, yeah, what am I up to?
Century?
Yeah, let's talk about the Century. Century came out this week. I thought I would give it a try. Century #1, written by Jason Lowe with art by Luigi Zagaria.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, let's just check in because Century's dead, man.
Right. But like he's been dead before.
Well, they're very much like, no, he's dead. We'll see though, right?
All right, yeah, sure.
And this story really is it's taking place during the Luke Cage is mayor, but I don't think it actually is tying into gang war at all. But Luke Cage is mayor.
Yep.
And Jessica is desiring to go back to work because she doesn't want to just be home with the kids.
Okay,
but
good.
Like she's starting up alias investigations, and
this is all happening in a Century book.
Yeah, I opened that literally first page. I'm like, okay,
Jessica Jones. Let's check in with her.
I'm down. I like Jessica.
Right, yeah.
But like she doesn't want to be home with the kids. I was like, kids, and then like it caught
me the purple children.
Yeah. Well, no, it's her kid, and
then Danielle,
and they've got one son, a purple man.
Yes.
And so she's like a little uncomfortable with that, but
yeah, I would be.
Hey, but like Luke has them for the day while she's trying to get alias investigations back up and running. And she's like, it's weird because I'm the mayor's wife. I'm the first lady of New York.
Yeah.
But like, so I don't know how many people are going to really trust me to do something for them like this. But
and that would be more interesting. Oh man.
I'd like to do that. I like to try to get in and like help out people because I can't be a hero. No one can right now. Like, so let me try to do this. Right.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this opening sequence too, because like she's putting a door on this office.
Yeah.
And she's like on the phone, like FaceTiming with Luke. And they're just chit-chatting or whatever. And there's like this like sound that occurs that like draws her out of the building. But before that happens, she realizes that she's got the door up and she's like, the window's in backwards. She's like,
I can read it from in here. Oops.
Yeah.
That's like, great.
Yeah, totally get that. Right. And so what this story is really about is the idea is that like the Century's abilities are like being distributed to random, presumably right now, people throughout the world.
Right.
And it's like, just here's a person.
Right. And they're the Century.
No, and they get part of his powers. Right. And like it strikes them. And so it causes damage and destruction. And like, for example, this one girl gets it and like, it causes the building around her to collapse. So she manages to get everybody out. But like, she's like, she doesn't know what to do with herself. She really shoves to the situation.
Okay.
Misty Knight is in this book too. Cause she's like, don't forget, Jessica Jones, you can't use your powers.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Misty.
And so they're going to team up to hopefully find out more about the Century and because they can clearly read the Century's abilities. They use like tech to look at this girl's like last video that she was making and like they see her get the powers essentially, right? We see some other kid get abilities as well when someone shows up who's like, hey, I have like part of the Century's powers too. Cool. What did you get? Right.
Yeah,
and then it like revealed like, oh, he's the villain. And he's like, I should just be the next Century. I'm just going to collect. I'm going to kill you and take
your
the powers.
Power.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's what he's doing. Right. And that's really what this book is about. Right. It's these people and you got Jessica Jones. And I'm like, I'm interested in the Jessica Jones stuff. I do kind of like the Century stuff. The art is fine. Does what it needs to do. My issue is a little bit, I don't really know Jason Lowe's writing. I think they have worked on some like, I want to say like more young adult sort of books for Marvel. I'm not 100%. I'm sure they've done other things too. But I'm not really like vibing with the like tone of the story.
Yeah.
Because it felt a little I don't know. It just didn't quite have the same sort of like flow that I'm used to.
Yeah.
For a story where like, oftentimes people would just kind of say what they were feeling.
That makes me feel angry.
Well, and it could just be that it's like, it's the first issue.
Right.
Sometimes people have like jitters,
yes,
like
absolutely.
They're starting a new book. You're bringing the Century back.
Yeah.
Like, there is a, like, not that ever like a lot of people are like huge Century fans, except for Rob Jefferson. But it could just be that. So I'm probably willing to give this another try, another issue. Because like I said, like I do like some of the elements here. I like the idea of there being some return of the Century.
Yeah.
Post him being ripped apart by Null. Also, by the way, as people are getting powers, they see like random portions of the Century's life. Like Century fighting Hulk, Century like ripping, I guess, Carnage. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it could be the Hulk fight. I don't know.
In that case, I think what you're seeing is the fight from him killing Ares in Siege. But Sentry usually tries to rip his problems in half. So it has been Carnage, has been Ares. He's been ripped in half.
Yeah, sometimes you're gonna do that. And by the way, I didn't mind the tone of the book until like somebody's arm got ripped off, and I was like, oh,
like what is? Like I thought this was one tone, and it became this,
and it became something else. So.
But isn't that genre bending, or is that like more like
I don't know. I think like I said, I'm gonna give it another shot. We'll see. We'll see if it like kind of evens out. But there were just a couple of things that I just didn't
vibe with you.
It didn't vibe with me. Vibe with me. But like I said, it's nice to see Jessica Jones doing stuff. I wasn't expecting that. I just think it's very funny that I was like, I'm gonna pick up a Luke Cage book. I'm gonna try the Sentry book, and Jessica Jones is in that book. Yeah. And I'm like, apparently, I'm just like right now, unbeknownst to me, looking for some Luke Cage, Jessica Jones stories.
Yeah. Well, who isn't? I mean, at this point, right? He's so great.
Well, and again, like the two of them, you know, they are super heroic, right? But they have such a tether to the people.
Yes.
Of New York, and just like, you know, just
to the street level person, to the guy on the street
person. And for Luke to be mayor, I'm like, I do want a story about that. I do want a story about Jessica Jones being thrust into that world where it's just like she's used to doing her thing, and now it's like, actually, you're the mayor's wife,
right?
As well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's cool.
But that's the story I want to see.
But like, this is really about the Sentry.
Yeah,
so
I kind of really only want to see like a Jessica Jones being stuck being the first woman of New York. Like that'd be more interesting to me.
I don't know. So like I said, I'll give it another shot, but I don't know. This didn't really click. Didn't really click for me.
Fair enough. Well, I did read Transformers #3 from Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. This book looked spectacular and continues to feel like a classic episode of the Transformers G1 series, but also with like a modern sensibility, with a more adult concept. This actually really clicked with me better than the last issue.
Okay.
Continues to be fun. We get some patented Daniel Warren Johnson wrestling moves, but executed by giant robots and fight each other.
A power bomb?
There's no power bomb specifically, but there is a moment in which like Optimus Prime's arm is ripped off, and then he takes that arm and then he spins it at high speeds and caves someone's heads in with it, like with his own severed arm. And it's like, that's kind of fun.
I mean, I guess if I was a robot man, I might do the same thing.
Right. You know, obviously Starscream's got machinations going on. He has every desire to see, like, you know, himself raised up before Megatron, and Prime is preoccupied with this like whole, you know, preservation of life thing. Meanwhile, Spike's father, who's kind of like a drunken deadbeat, is trying to half-ass overparent with his son when these robots come a-calling, and he's like, all of them are bad, we got to kill them all. So like we're seeing, you know, the negative side of humanity versus the, you know, so they're fighting everybody. They're just open fire on everybody, and Spike gets a stray bullet from his own father, I believe, or at the very least it's his father's fault. And we see that echoed, like Prime sees it happen, and it like Spike like collapsed on the ground. Reminds him of the first issue or second issue, I think, when he steps on a deer, and he didn't recognize. Like Prime grew up on Cybertron. The whole damn planet is made of robots and metal. Like you don't have to worry about where you step. Everything's huge and robots.
Right.
So he at some point earlier in the series, you know, he was taking in the splendor and awe of Earth, and he accidentally steps on a deer, and he realizes like everything here is fragile, and I have to be careful, and it's all worth preserving. So that's like the parallel. And so he sees Spike, and he's like, this is a person, you know, this is a person that can talk and think. Like that really, you know. And so it gets more of that like patented Daniel Warren Johnson heart that I was kind of missing. The last two kind of felt more like, you know, work, more like corporate comics than what I'm like, you know, hoping for from a D-Dubs book.
Sure.
But this is more of the, you know, it's a good blend. We're seeing those elements kind of like brought to bear, and I'm happy for it. I just want to look at Daniel Warren Johnson books all the time, so I'm happy to get it.
Right.
But again, like it's 3 issues in. I like it.
Yeah, this is one of those books,
I'm not in love with it,
though, where you're following the writer and artist.
I am following
like, you're following them over here because you're not a normal Transformers reader.
I'm not.
That's like me right now, because again, like we don't normally do that type of thing.
Yeah.
We'll give it a shot at least, but like I followed Spurrier over to Flash.
Yes, you're not a Flash reader.
I don't regret it now. I'm really not regretting it.
Yeah, that's also, I think, like 3 issues in.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Do you want to do any? Yeah.
Well, before we do, Hulkzilla says, showing support for our favorite B-Mock, Big Man of Comics. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Best wishes to you guys and the entire crew for the holiday season. Thanks, Hulkzilla,
Well,
for your
thank you,
generosity and for supporting us, man. And thanks for the
Thank you.
thanks for the B-Mock reference. Good call. Heartless Fang. Hey, Tiv and Sal, trying to get back into reading Western comics. So my question is, after Hawks and Pox and Ten of Swords, what in blazes the X-Men event reading order if I want a cohesive story? Well, I think that it's after Ten of Swords. You're pretty much going to need to read the Hellfire Gala, and then what Inferno.
Yeah,
and that will end.
I mean, and
your
you can
Hickman
read
era.
Trial and Magnum.
No, you're good. You don't need it. No. Read the Hellfire Gala, and then Inferno will end the Hickman period of Hawks of the House of X period, and then you'll be in the Jerry Duggan era of X-Men, and at that point. And I don't want to tell tales out of school because he's a resident X person, but like I believe you can pretty much just pick and choose. Like you can pick and choose anything you feel like reading, but it will all be connected. If you want to keep going, if you're like so invested after Inferno, then you got to read 10 Lives, 10 Deaths of Wolverine, and that will open you up to the larger world of the Duggan verse.
Yeah,
but you can continue to read the X-Men main book. That's important.
Yes, read that. I would also at some point read AXE. It's not
AXE, the event.
It's not technically just an X-Men event, but if you like what you're reading after you get out of the Hickman era and you like
what Duggan's doing,
and Gillen and all what they're doing, go pick up AXE because it's going to help to inform some stuff going forward.
Yeah.
And then if you don't mind taking a little detour, go check out Sins of Sinister. Trust me, you will not. If you like what Gillen, Ewing are doing, Spurrier.
Yeah,
you will not be like astray or led astray by.
No,
that
that's
book,
true.
It's just an amazing. Read.
If you can actually figure out how to like track what Ewing, Gillen, and or Spurrier is writing on X-Men at any given point, you will be fine in terms of it being awesome and being rewarded by good writing.
It really just depends on if you want to only read the events or if you
want to read day to day,
gravitate towards certain books, because a lot of the books don't last fully throughout this Krakoan era.
That's
Some
true.
of them do.
No, but you're right.
Very few of them do.
Yeah.
And so it's really not a huge commitment if you're like, oh man, during like Ten of Swords, I really loved the Hellions. It's like, well, trust me, then you don't have a whole lot to read.
Then you can read the entire series and you'll be fine.
Yeah, you just read that and you'll be good.
It's good, by the way.
Yeah, or if you're just like, man, I really liked Legion of X or Way of X. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you just
follow
jump on
them.
Those. Like, I personally liked reading a lot of the books that weren't just the event stuff. But if you're looking for just the event stuff, go for
Sins
it.
of Sinister. Like that's after
sure.
10 Lives, 10 Deaths. Sins of Sinister is the next big event. After Axe, I believe. Yeah, because it's Axe and then Sinister Sinister. So yeah, read the Axe and Sinister. PT J-O says, I need to wake up with ComicPop Comeback. You describing in detail how to fry a turkey lives rent-free in my head. Well, thank you very much. That's funny. I didn't realize I did that, but thank you very much for checking out the show. Yeah, I need to bring that show back. I need to bring back a lot of shows. My plan for 2023, we'll talk maybe more about it. I'd like to do like a full comprehensive, like, here's what I'd like to try and do show. So maybe we'll get into that. Ray Far ComicPop woo to you too, Ray. Thanks. Hope you're doing well. I am. You too. I'm listening to ComicPop while I study for finals. One more year and I'll be a teacher. Well, congratulations.
My gosh, congrats,
Ray.
that's huge.
Yeah, congratulations. Keep it up. And good luck to you, my friend.
You got this.
Dante Cook. Hi, guys. I'm at the gym, so I can't stay. I did want to say Birds of Prey is awesome. The fight between Barda and Wonder Woman is what my life needed. Catch you later. Thank you very much, Dante Cook, for your generosity. Enjoy the gym.
Thank you so much.
Make sure to drink plenty of water, and we will get into Birds of Prey.
Get those gains?
Yeah, get the gains. Yeah.
I don't know. I need to like go to the gym.
Hunger in the Dusk.
That's not what you said. You're getting into Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I said we will get there eventually.
Oh, Hunger in the Dusk #4 came out this week. G. Willow Wilson on writing, art by Chris Wildgoose.
Yes.
G. Willow Wilson having described this as the hot orc book. She's not wrong. Trust me. There is some steaminess that happens in this issue in particular. But look, if you're looking for something fantasy that like gives you like a little nostalgia for like the World of Warcraft days without just being a total ripoff of World of Warcraft, because it's not, this is the book for you. Like if you like fantasy that's like you can get in, like it's entry level, you don't feel like you're like, oh god, now I gotta learn all these things
for the cover.
Like,
if you like entry level fantasy,
yes. But like, I don't mean to like sound like it's being played down, but that's what it is. Like, it's fantasy without having to be like, okay, well, now I need to understand the like long history of these folks. No, trust me, if you need to know something, it'll be revealed in a like natural conversation.
Yeah.
It'll be like, oh, okay, now I understand that, right? But like, it's cool. It has elements of like politics because you have these, the humans and the orcs, and they've obviously been warring. But oh no, there's this third group that has shown up, and they're an even bigger problem. And you just need these two groups to get over it, right?
Yeah.
They have like a very unsteady treaty going on. And with this like looming threat, also like the world itself is falling apart.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how are we gonna, you know what I mean? Like, how can we fight a front on like, if we don't band together?
Yeah.
But maybe some folk aren't down for that. So it's cool. I really like it. I love Wild Goose art. I love the world building that they're both doing. Willow with her storytelling, Wild Goose with his designs, and just the world itself. Just really fun. Not something I normally would be like, oh man, I do love me some fantasy. But I typically, if I'm going to read it as a book, I tend to grab for a trade.
Yeah.
But I've been really enjoying this like month to month, and I tell you right now, you're probably going to love this in a trade if you haven't already started on this book. But again, we're only a few issues in. It's 4 issues.
But it will be got to 6, I believe, right now.
Yeah. So like, if you are thinking about getting this for trade, let your local comic book store know that they want to grab this, because I'm telling you, if you know someone who loves fantasy and maybe they're kind of interested in comics, I think this is going to be a great pick for them.
I agree.
Or for yourself.
Yeah. Dante Ray Farr returns to say, I know art is subjective, but I think this thumbnail is indicative of JR Jr.'s current art: a stern, beautiful, and powerful She-Hulk and a wide Elektra. Yeah. It's weird. The Elektra thing was weird because at some point throughout that issue in particular, it went from she looks like Daredevil to it's just Elektra with a D on her chest. And I'm like, okay. All right, Junior.
Maybe she just changed.
Alex Sanchez, Tomasi has my loyalty, at least for one arc of Sinister Sons before his awesome Superman run and Super Sons. He's a great he's a great at writing. Yeah, I agree. He's a great writer. He ain't getting an arc from me. We'll be getting 1 issue. We'll see.
I appreciate, if you're someone who wants to follow a writer, I appreciate that. You're like, I'm gonna at least give it 1 arc. I appreciate that, especially if you're pre-ordering.
Exactly. CJ Hall, ComicPop Woo, happy Hanukkah. Love the honest take on fandom. That's right. Happy Hanukkah to those of us who are, of that persuasion, I suppose. Who celebrate. That's it. Yes.
It's a festival of light.
That's right. It is.
It was brought to my attention that there are a lot of cultures who have festivals of light, and it's like a cool thing where it's like we have all these different celebrations across the world with all different traditions and maybe at different times, but there's something about light in the darkness, especially around this time of year, because being the shortest days of the year, like there's something about light that kind of like brings us all together, and I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
I agree. But thank you, CJ, and welcome. Ray, more money. Cassell loves a Garfield Christmas. Thank you very much.
Very nice.
We do love a Garfield Christmas. It's my favorite Christmas special. And Cora Valentine, thank you for your generosity, saying, CPOP, yeah, been loving the new anthology Marvel Zombie series. Also, Defenders Tournament of Heroes arc is one of the goofiest things I've read. Would love to see a back issues on it. Thanks for the good vibes. So thank you very much, Cora, and welcome to the show. Thanks for your generosity. I'll have to read the Defenders Tournament of Heroes. And I have not.
And I want to, if you're talking about the anthology being the was it Black, White, and Red?
I don't know. It was just the zombies book.
Yeah, but there is like one that's like, I think it's Black, White, and Red zombies. And I haven't had a chance. I kind of want to jump into that. Someone asked in chat though, what the comic, if you're talking about the comic that I was just talking about, that was the Dawn and the Hunger in the Dusk.
Yes, Hunger in the Dusk.
I was like, Dawn and Dusk. The Hunger in the Dusk. It's from IDW.
Yeah. So we've got more going on here. I guess
we got more. Go ahead.
Yeah, I could talk about Birds of Prey #4 from Kelly Thompson with art by Leonardo Romero. We see the birds have infiltrated Themyscira to get Sin back to Black Canary. They have caught the attention of Wonder Woman, and folk get arrested. Wonder Woman fights a number of characters, including Big Barda on this that is depicted on the cover. And
is it awesome?
It's awesome. It's a gorgeous looking book.
I have to get into this book.
Yes, you would love it.
I have to.
You would love it the most. It's a great series that is respectful of all characters. It is both awesome, distinctly feminine, but also doesn't like. It's not like that is a turnoff or it is only for one particular persuasion. You know what I mean? Like you can feel that like Kelly Thompson is celebrating femininity
Mm-hmm.
in all of its various elements. Like Harley Quinn depicts a version, Cassandra Cain has one,
Mm-hmm.
all these different women just displaying who they are and how powerful they can be and how interesting they are as characters. It's a fantastic series, and it absolutely justifies its existence, but more importantly, it's just a fun read. It's definitely worth reading if you haven't already checked out this series. The art from Romero continues to evoke a kind of Darwin Cookian style without being derivative in any way. It's very much his own style. Jordi Belair does the colors, and she's going for something. I'm not loving the colors. It's going for something. What if you see the cover? That's the color scheme that we're going with.
It's pulpy.
It's very pulpy. It wants to go in that style. I don't know if I get pulp as much as I'm just kind of like wishing it were more traditional.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they did go in a more traditional style, it might lose something. So I'm glad we have the book in its current incarnation.
I like the cover colors quite a bit.
Well, then you would love the interiors because they're very much matching.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, so it's a high recommend for me. Birds of Prey number 4.
All right. Okay. Cool.
We have X-Men.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about X-Men in a while, and I'm very happy. I saw somebody made a joke about this where they because it's Doom's return and how it's right.
It's Doom.
Doom.
What was the joke? Okay. X-Men number 29, written by Jerry Duggan with art by Josh Cassara. I feel like last issue, I was a little like soft on the Cassara art for this book because I like Cassara and other stuff. I really liked it in this issue.
Oh yeah, good.
In particular, I don't know if it's just finding the tone or what. But yes, this is Doom's return to dealing with the X-Men. We start like in the past. We go, let's go back, right?
Yeah.
What are we going back to? We're going back to. By the way, this is such a great thing to do, but also like, it's like back to the beginning, right before Charles broadcast to the world about Krakoa in the first place.
Yes.
And I was like,
oh, don't remind me of how exciting and great that was.
It really is a great time. But that as he's about to do it, like Doom's like, hey.
Oh, hey, Charles, are you calling everybody?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, man.
He's like, yeah, I was about to talk to everyone. I'm not really surprised that you figured out how to jump in here. He's like, yeah, cool. No, whatever. Anyway, Doom gives him a hard time about it. He's just like, your head is not fit for this type of crown, Charles. You can't handle it.
Yeah. Love that.
I'm like, he's like he basically says as one sovereign to another, like, you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
Like, but like, and just FYI, Latveria will be a no.
We're out.
We're not doing this. And he does mention that he's like, this will be your ruin, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? That's fair. Charles Chuck's right. He's in a bad place.
Yeah.
But then it's like we're reminded, like, don't forget, Doom has like mutants.
Yes, he has his own X-Men.
I'm like, oh right. And he we see a little bit about their bringing the fact that there are 5 of them that we've seen. There are 7 that he has. 2 of them he doesn't think are ready to serve.
Okay. 1
he doesn't think will ever be, and 1 he's not sure about. But like we don't know who they are. Names redacted.
That means that their names we know.
But there's a pair of twins. There's a one who he's like, I could almost name her as an heir. At this point. Like, she's so dedicated.
Right.
I'm here for that. Right. And I'm like, cool. And he prophesizes that he's like, at some point the mutants will be at such a low point that they will come for you to like liberate you in order to like help them. And like that's what this book is, right? Yeah. Like Wolverine and Ms. Marvel and Shadowcat show up at the door and they're like, hey, come on, we're here we need to all work together because there are so few of us,
right? And
it's just a big old fight. And it's like a big old fight with Doom, like also being Doom.
Yeah, like
yeah, just saying things and being like, yeah, as well, blah.
I'm better than you, yeah.
Yep, we're all better than you, and I knew this would happen, and so on and so such. And that these are not just mutants; they're Latvian subjects, and they're all like, yeah, no, we are.
Yeah, we're loyal to Doom. Yeah,
we're all about Latveria. Like we love Latveria, and they're like, we're here to free you. And Ms. Marvel's like, we're not here to fight, and they're like, but we are.
Yeah, but
like,
we are going to.
But we are here to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to see a little bit of how Doom kind of found each of these mutants among his Latvian subjects. So then we get like a little 1-pager on each, or on a few of them. So that's kind of cool. I dig it. Inevitably, they yield, right? Like they're like, all right, fine. Like we're just gonna leave you here. If you're that like tied to being in Latveria, tied to Doom, Wolverine's like, where at? And Doom's like, you can't leave until you've dined with Doom.
Okay.
And so they have a big dinner. And I appreciate this too, because it gave me Ten of Swords vibes.
Yep.
You know, with Saturnine. And you know, just being with your enemy, but having to have
to
this
hold court with
meal,
them. Yes.
which I love. And they have like this whole conversation where Doom's like, I've prepared a huge feast, including like halal options for
Ms. Marvel.
yeah. Ms. Marvel's like, well, Doom knows who I am. That's pretty cool, but also scary anyway.
Yeah.
I appreciate this too, because I hadn't really thought about it, but like Wolverine like is digging in, and Shadowcat's like, "What are you doing?
Right,
Like,
you
just gonna eat Doom's food?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I got the crap kicked out of me, and healing takes a lot of calories, so shut up." The dude he's fighting, by the way, is like, that was an awesome fight. We had that was good. I haven't had like
a good scrap like that in a while.
Yeah. But essentially, they're like, you knew that like Krakoa was gonna fall, and he's like, how, like, if you know, like, how do you know what's coming? Like, if you know what's coming, tell us what's happening next. And he's just like, that's a precious gift, and I'm not ready to tell you what it is. Anyway, I'm going to take my leave now, and you better be gone by the dawn.
Right.
And so Doom leaves, and it's dope, right? And he just leaves his group with their group, and they're just eating. But this is what I love, is that one of them is like, listen, like, since your enemies have declared that like our shared gene is a problem, I have a feeling that if an opportunity arose to take them off the board, the House of Doom would answer the call.
Oh.
And I was like,
so it's like they got what they wanted.
This is interesting, because Doom would never do this, but he can let them do it.
Right.
He's like, you know,
like, we'll do it off the books work.
Because the fact is, like, our team realizes that they're like, Doom knows that if Orcus shows up,
right, we'll have to fight them.
Yeah, and he doesn't know if he can win that fight. So he'd rather have other pieces on the table in order to, you know, help out with that, right? But I was like, that's cool. And like, you know, like Logan's like, okay, cool. Like,
cool.
I guess this is a win of some sort.
Yeah.
They get back, they're very excited to tell Sync and Talon about that. And when they enter into their base, there's just like blood.
Right.
And
it's
we
the
don't know what happened.
Middle act of the Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah,
they've
like
taken Splinter.
Dun dun dun.
Oh no.
We will not find out what happens to Sync and Talon until X-Men number 30, but according to this, next is the fall of House of X.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh no. So, you know, it was good. I liked it a lot. Like the Dr. Stasis note at the end where they're talking about like, hey, things are going great. We're going to put Cyclops on trial. We're going to definitely kill him. And we're working on that. It's going to happen in Paris. And then he's talking about at the end, like, hey, like, if you want to continue working with us after like this happens, like there'll be like some like small positions available. And he starts naming some things. And the reason I bring this up is because there's one like element of it that I was like, oh, that's so scary. And also very accurate to what would happen. Because he's like, we're going to need people to help clean up, and also making sure that human carriers of the X gene comply with reproductive laws. Like they're going to control X breeding.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, like, human breeding. Like they're like, we're taking over the whole world after this.
Basically, like if you're a human, but you might carry an X gene, that like Orcus will be in charge of like you having children. Yes. And I'm like,
that's great. Ooh. That's exactly what they would do.
Ooh, yeah, exactly. So this is a great issue. Part of which, of course, is because Doom was in it, and Doom was just being Doom. You know, can't help himself. He was large and in charge, and I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much for liking the hat. I appreciate that. I like this hat too. I love this crazy effect because it's just embroidered. Yeah. But like the shadow color that they picked for the crest is really well done, so that it does have a really huge 3-dimensional element to it. But it's not that.
We got that at this year's San Diego Comic Con.
You got that for me.
It's a throwback to Superman 78.
Yeah. Oh, is it on the side of the hat?
There it is.
I can't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. What's next? I guess we could talk about Batman Santa Claus Silent Night #1 from Jeff Parker and Michelle Bandy.
Heck yeah.
This was on our radar because it was an actual series. It wasn't just going to be like, you know, DC likes to do these like kind of holiday themed books.
Here's like an 80-pager with like a bunch of like short comics in it, which oftentimes have some really great stuff in there. But no, this one was like, here's #1. I'm like, #1.
Oh,
all right,
God, there's an actual series,
which we said we were going to read, and Sal like read it, and he was like,
you'll want to read this.
You're going to want to read this.
And was I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, like, we started this show by talking about something that we thought was silly, right? And kind of like, poking fun out of it. Is this silly?
100%.
Yeah. Is this kind of silly I'm looking for? You better
100%.
believe it.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading this. I was like, this is so ridiculous.
Yes.
But like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to chat a little bit about it?
But yeah, so okay, the concept is, Gotham is invaded by a evil threat that resembles a man bat, but is actually a kind of like alternate vampire bat monster.
Yeah, they're Draug.
Draug, thank you. They all have names. I don't know their names because they're from myth and legend. Tiffany will do that for me. But Batman and Damian spring into action because, of course, Batman's kind of on the outs of the Bat family, but that doesn't really matter. Forget it. Don't worry about it. It's supposed to be read in a vacuum, thank God. And Damian has a lot of quips and jabs in this, which I'm not really a big fan of, but whatever. I don't care.
I thought this made Damian more endearing.
It did, but I'm like
more childlike.
Yeah, but that makes me go like, I don't know if that's even Damian, but like
I don't
whatever.
Care.
Doesn't matter. But so Batman and Damian spring into action. They go investigate. And of course they end up fighting the monster.
Well, they call in Zatanna.
Yes, they call in. Well, Batman says he calls in some help, and I'm like
an expert,
and that's Zatanna. Zatanna pops in as she's wanted to do. Yeah, which is delightful.
Yes,
and then we find out that there was another expert.
Well, Batman didn't call him.
He did not, but he knows him personally.
Yeah, that's as they're attacked by
the
Draugr,
yeah,
or the Draug. Draugr or something else, but Draug. And they're, Zatanna and Batman and Damian are all trying to fight them off.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right. He gets impaled.
One of them does.
Yes.
The Draug gets impaled, and they all look up to one of the rooftops, and up sitting upon a reindeer. Santa.
It's Santa Claus. And Santa Claus.
Big, whatchamacallit? Crossbow.
Yes. Yes, naturally. And so Santa's a badass, and he's also like, it's a myth, it's a mythic Santa concept. He's, if you ever read Claus?
Your Klaus?
Klaus, it's that.
It is
but
that, it's not that.
It's not that. It's 25% more distinct from Klaus.
Well, no, because I think, and I have to go back and reread it, but I think he's meant to be a lesser of the Norse god.
Yes.
Because like he gets left behind. For going back across the
threshold or whatever.
Well, like the Rainbow Bridge, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like he doesn't make it as it's destroyed or gone or whatever, and he gets stuck here.
Yes.
Right. So I assume we're indicating that he was a lesser,
he was like a demigod.
No, or just like one of the lesser known ones. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was a carpenter of some sort, right?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Klaus is like, he's a dude.
Yeah, Klaus.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's a little different.
That's true.
But I do get Klaus vibes, and so if you did like Klaus, you were like, I kind of like that. But you wanted to see Batman in there,
then there's the
book for you.
Well, especially because the covers are done by Dan Mora,
which is like
Drew Klaus. So you're like,
oh my wow, okay.
By the way, I should point out that the artist on the first issue, Michelle Bandy, did a great job.
Yeah.
It's a fun looking book. Although the next issue I think is drawn by Trevor Hairsine. So
but
Michelle Bandy. So like we're gonna mix it up.
Maybe it's a little past future kind of thing.
Like a flashback,
or like past present.
Exactly. But so Batman and Santa begrudgingly team up. Batman
they acknowledge the fact that they have teamed up in the past, which I love because a bunch of the Bat family is like, okay,
so wait,
that was
you knew Santa personally,
or like that was real,
right?
I thought you were just
Dick Grayson is the one who points it out. He's like, yeah, Batman says that he teamed up with Santa, but I thought he was just saying that to make Santa seem cooler or to make me believe in him and stuff. But
additionally, whenever Santa meets someone, he's like, oh, hello, this person, and then gives their address.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what happens.
Which I freaking love. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like,
hello, Dick Grayson of 102.
And he's like,
yeah, but also he says that he hasn't like actually had to be Santa in years.
He's like, I don't have to take care
I don't have to do they're like, isn't it Christmas Eve? Aren't you gonna be busy? And he's like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. But we also like introduced like the seeming villain. I'm like,
yes.
Is it this or is it not? I don't know.
Right? Is it a double? Is it a fake out?
That like in the past, like Santa was part of the Wild Hunt.
Yes,
and so to come and help people by like getting rid of like demons
Spirits.
and
Yeah.
evil spirits, and one of them he ended up like tracking down was the Krampus, and the Krampus, he was like, oh, I'm not gonna kill him because he's just scaring kids, he's
Yeah,
like,
he's actually not that malevolent.
yeah, he's not doing much of that, but in this, like the Krampus is back.
Yeah, and he wants revenge, and so
well, he's like, no, he's like, you should have killed me when you had a chance. I'm like, oh, okay, whoa, we got dark here.
Yeah.
And that like, Santa should have killed all the Draug, but he didn't. He just sealed them away. He's like, so I let them go. And he's like, I'm gonna take the holiday we created. I'm gonna make it all about me. So
Yes.
says the Krampus, ho ho ho. And I'm like, I am so in.
Right. I'm really on board
This
for
is
this.
so silly,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm so in. This is exactly the kind of thing that I'm like, take my money.
Yeah.
Take all of my money. I would like to pre-order all of these,
Mm-hmm.
and I want the trade of it.
Yep.
And yeah,
issue 2 comes out tomorrow.
Ooh.
And then issue 3 the 19th, and issue 4 on the 26th. So you'll enjoy
I legitimately cannot wait.
Yeah, it's great. It's a fun series. It's totally worth checking out. Superman on the cover is alive, but whatever. And yeah,
well, for now, who knows?
Yeah, but
it's
he ain't on the cover
but
for
probably
issues 2,
not.
3, and 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, fun book, unexpectedly fun.
I guess what it is he's reading the story of what Batman is doing.
But he's actually reading like an old 1940s Batman comic book to a kid. But yeah, in any case, it's a fun book. It's worth checking out. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We also read Batman 140.
No, we did not.
I read Batman 140 from Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez. This continues the seems to be winding down the huge saga that started with Chip's first arc with Failsafe. This, of course, is building towards a dramatic, climactic fight between Batman and a Joker / the Zuranars of the multiverse. Yes, there's a lot going on in this series, and yes, Chip is doing a pretty good job of like tying it all together. In the previous story, Batman's chasing Joker through the multiverse, and he ends up infecting every other Batman he runs into with Zuranars, so then they all have Zuranars, and then they all get together and they jump into Batman's mind, and then they try and trap him and keep him from being able to take over his own body, so that the Batman of Zuranar Earth Prime tries to kill Joker. Of course, we know that the Joker is one of 3 because about 25 years ago, Jeff Johns wrote a story in which they implied that there was 3 Jokers, and then nothing ever came of it. There was never another story whatsoever about 3 Jokers again, or at least that's what the main continuity wants you to believe, because they're really funny about that. I think we talk about that, the fact that in every reference to the 3 Jokers in Zdarsky's run, they refer to, in an editor's note, the time in the Justice League book in Darkseid War that they referenced the 3 Jokers, but not the book 3 Jokers, and that Batman never solved the mystery.
Oh.
So it looks like what they're doing through the Zdarsky run is they are saying that 3 Jokers is out of continuity and it's a Black Label book that didn't happen. And that actually there are 3 Jokers, and Zdarsky's going to tell you who they are. And so in the story, Batman seems to dispatch with one of them, and that Joker seems to be the one from Killing Joke and stuff like that.
I guess it's that way. They have DC will have more control.
Yeah, probably. Or I think it's just the fact that 3 Jokers just wasn't the phenomenon they were hoping for. And so we could, I don't know. The book is well written, and of course the art is spectacular. It's poorly balanced between the present, or the reality of Batman as Zuranar fighting Joker, and then seemingly baning him or killing him. It's lost on me. I don't know definitively whether this Batman the Zuranar has killed Joker or not. But we also have the fun of Michael Keaton Batman of Zuranar fighting Batman Prime. Kevin Conroy Batman of Zuranar fighting Batman. And of course, Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller Batman fighting Batman in his mind.
Okay.
All that to say that it all wraps up with the Zuranar personality jumping into the failsafe body, so that Batman can punch Zuranar.
I gotta tell you, maybe if I read this, because I read a little bit of it at the beginning, and then I kind of fell right off of this bandwagon. I'm just so tired of hearing of Zuranar.
Yeah, no, I think that the audience at large is kind of sick of it, or at the very least, the audience that cares about podcasts and listens to this kind of show is really sick of Zuranar, or at the very least, I couldn't care less. I don't know anybody who's like, dude, these Zuranars are doing great. I'm loving.
Right. It's just how I feel right now. I'm just okay.
The big moment at the end of the multiverse story, where it was the big reveal that was Batman infected all the other Batmen with Zuranar. That is supposed to be a huge mic drop moment, and I feel maybe 6 or 7 years ago it might have been, but in today's world of
sure,
Gotham collapsed 14 times under James Tynion IV's watch, I don't really care.
Right,
Like, I'm
and,
just
like-
kind of fatigued.
And again, we're like leaning right into the Joker. I'm like, okay,
I know. Once he fought the Joker again, I was like, oh my God.
okay, it's Joker.
And like, I appreciate it. And I want Zdarsky to have his Joker because everybody gets a Joker story.
Right.
You know, and like, I think Snyder did a great couple of Joker stories. I think that Jamestown IV had one too.
But at this point,
but-
wouldn't you want to write like a Elseworlds or Black Label
Right.
Joker story at this point?
Well, because Jeff Lemire keeps doing it, you know, and I don't want to step
Well,
on
you
his
could do
toes.
a Batman. Trust me, there's plenty of room. There's plenty of room. It just feels like something like that that's out of continuity might have more staying power. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just it's fun, and I think that this is a step in the right direction versus what we had in the previous arc, but it's not hitting like I think they expected. But I don't know. I don't know what the sales are like. There is also, as Chem Dog reminds us, there's a backup about Vandal Savage having moved into Wayne Manor, and he's gonna help take over Gotham or some nonsense. I think they're gonna like become mayor or something like that. It's just like, who cares? Like, as much as I couldn't care less about like Batman fighting the Joker for the umpteenth time, or like 17 Zuranars all punching Batman, Vandal Savage doing anything is on my list of like, who gives a shit.
Okay.
And Vandal Savage like delaying Bruce moving into Wayne Manor is even higher on my list of who gives a shit. But you can see, like, I feel like you can kind of like trace what Chip's doing at this point. And I see the strings, and it's fine. Like, not the strings. The strings implies that he's being puppeted, which he is not. Like, I feel like this is very much like a Chip focused book. This feels like I can see where he's going with this, and it feels like a very like Herculean effort to put the toys back in the box. This very much feels like the kind of book where Chip is like, I am going to give you exactly what you asked for. Here is an epic Joker story. Here is a fun exploration of the Zuranar. The story where Batman and Zuranar fights Joker for the first time, and the backups is so beautifully drawn and so well executed,
Right.
that it's like, that's the book. More so than any of the other things we saw.
Right.
Like Red Mask and whatnot. I was like, this is cool. So yeah, you know, it's just like, oh, okay. I wish it were more exciting, but maybe based on the sales, they don't need my like concern.
Okay. Right. No, I get you.
But yeah, I liked it, but I also recognize that it's like, oh, like I get it.
Yeah.
I get anybody who's like, I'm not reading it, I'm too fatigued. I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you
Exactly.
you have to.
I get you.
But yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
All right. Well, before we go into recommends, I don't know if we have any more
Super chats. We have many more.
But I also wanted to say, do you have a favorite book of the week? What's your number one book of the week?
Yeah, book of the week. That's a great question.
I know what mine is.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do know what mine is
It's
too.
Batman and Santa.
Oh yeah, the Batman Santa book. That's great.
That's my number one book of the week. I just, you know what it is? I think it's just I'm in a holiday mindset, and it was just the right kind of joy.
Yeah.
I was like, it was just fun. I just had a good time. Also, I mean, like, come on, it's mythology. We got magic. We got Santa. We got Batman.
Yeah.
I was like, you checked all the boxes for me for this time of year.
Right. I liked it. But I still say Birds of Prey is
Fair.
my book. Of the
I didn't
week.
read Birds of Prey, so maybe I would have.
I think it's excellent. I think it's an undisputed modern, not a modern classic, but it could easily become that.
Sure.
And I think that it's a sleeper book that people need to be aware of.
I like that a lot.
But yeah, continuing on.
Is it that one?
It's this one.
Okay.
Lenny Laserdiscs says, I wish Gang War was in the style of West Side Story with Marvel characters. Thank you very much. Wobuster Brown says, thanks for working hard and making great content. Are either of you reading Beneath the Trees That No One Sees? Issue 2 is out this week. It's bloody beautiful. Bloody and beautiful.
I read the first issue. I'm going to try to pick up the second issue as well. But yeah, it's like, you know, Dexter meets Richard Scarry. I mean,
right.
I'm not coming up with that. They came up with that because
you came up with that, and then also they came up.
No,
with
they
that.
came up with the first.
Oh, did
they? They did 100%.
I thought you said that, and then you saw that they wrote that.
I said that, but I didn't know that they had already.
That's what I'm saying.
So, but they still came up with it before.
Yeah, great minds. Cosmo says, started No Man's Land as per Sal's recommendation last week, and it's amazing so far. Really appreciate it as a new reader. Appreciate you all. Thank you very much, Cosmo. I'm glad you're digging it. I should mention, it does go off the rails. So be careful. But, you know, if there's parts where you're like, I don't really need, do I need to read this? Probably not. If it's Penguin, you don't have to read it.
Okay.
Sick says, just finished my first year living in another country away from my family.
Oh.
Well, congratulations on that.
That's
ComicPop has been a source of comfort. Thank you for the laughs, the knowledge, and keeping me plugged into comics.
No
Happy
problem.
to do it, Sick, and good luck on your journey. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible.
Yeah. Lenny Laserdiscs, by the way, I'm not sure if you did this earlier in the stream, but do not forget the book of the week. Thank you very much,
Hey.
Lenny. We have not. Nitralizer says, longtime fan, my nephew's recently got into the Walking Dead books. Do you have any suggestions for other horror books I could get him? Well, when you said nephew, I was like, oh no. Like, do I need junior horror? But he's reading Walking Dead, so he's clearly advanced, or at the very least, allowed to read adult-oriented books.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I want to go like Something is Killing the Children, but that might be too advanced. I don't know.
Or Nice House on the Lake.
That might be too wordy.
It is a little wordy, yeah. No, if it's Walking Dead, they like.
Yeah.
Which is much more like, it's more of a like comic book cartoony style, but also has elements of realistic grit and horror. It's also much more like ramped up. Honestly, like if he likes Walking Dead, he'll probably love Invincible. And it's not a horror book, but it gets horror oriented, and I think it's worth grabbing.
You could try Baby Teeth.
Baby Teeth is a great series from Donny Cates of all people.
Yeah, I'm trying to like do a cross section here, and I'm really struggling because a lot of stuff I read is like, it's like Junji Ito.
You know, you might enjoy Nailbiter.
Ooh, Nailbiter, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's definitely
pick up Joshua Williamson's Nailbiter.
Oh, I every time like someone's like, "Do you have a horror book?" and I'm like, my brain's like, "You don't know any horror books.
I've never heard of a single horror book,
and you've never read any of them."
I'm not known for liking horror at all.
Nope, that's like just my brain. Yeah. There it is. Nope.
Sagoma, get those cookies, Sal. I'm trying. And Comic Lover, don't want to ruin the mood, but your channels helped me through some bad times. It means a lot to me and got me into comics. Thanks for everything. Well, thank you, Comic Lover. See, clearly it has affected you in some way because you love comics. But thank you so much for sharing that and allowing us to help in any way we can.
Absolutely.
I should point out that we do have recommendations, but before I do that, I wanted to really quickly talk about this one thing that's also on the internet that was a thing. This is John Cassidy's art. As you know it, John Cassidy, classic X-Men artist, did Astonishing X-Men, one of my favorite X-Men runs of all time. And recently, there's been some discussion about his X-Force variant cover. And there's a lot of talk about it. And there's some people wondering, like, what happened. And I wanted to share it with you, Tiffany, because I don't know what happened, and I was wondering if you might be able to shed some light on this. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hang on. I'm pulling it together here.
Right. Let's look a little closer.
Can I? Can I?
I feel like you're not really looking at it. So I think you really need to see.
Can I get a little background, because I don't know John Cassidy all that well.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get a little background?
Yeah.
How old is this person?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I have no idea.
That's like something I definitely need to know here,
right?
Before we talk about anything.
Yeah, but John Cassidy, you know him from Uncanny Avengers, from Astonishing X-Men, from Planetary.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know how old he is. Oh, he also drew one of my favorite like looking Captain Americas. I believe he designed my favorite suit for Captain America. But yeah, I don't know how old he is.
Because here's the thing, it's an unfortunate thing. But as like, especially artists, as they get older, writers less so.
He's between 51 and 52.
Okay. A lot of times,
Astonishing X-Men was 20 years ago, to be fair.
Yeah,
that's true.
A lot of times as people get older, if you have any sort of like health issues or injuries or anything like that, it can completely change.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I've heard many a story about artists who have completely
you do art. Artists, like, it requires you to have control over your body. It requires you to have hand-eye coordination. You talk about, like, you think about athletes. How short is an athlete's career? Right. Athletes don't tend to go for super long. It could be that maybe there's a health issue that we're not aware of.
It could have been time. It just could have been. I mean, it's a variant cover. It's not a major cover.
Maybe different medium. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he was mixed media. It could be he was just trying out a different thing. Maybe he's mostly pencils and decided to play with digitals. We don't know.
I don't know. I think the long and short of that is not terribly good.
Yeah, it's something I might have like not released.
And I don't want. Yeah.
That would have been that, but like I feel like it's not even maybe Cassidy's fault. Like obviously, like he drew it, but like I think it's more like when editorial got that cover back, they should have said, you know what, John, thank you.
I mean,
but we can't use this.
We were at New York Comic Con and we saw Aaron Campbell's table where he had that cover from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Stranger Things crossover, and he's like, I did a variant cover for it, and they didn't use it. They didn't use it.
He didn't even know until he saw the book come out, and they didn't have it.
We know that that's a thing that they
Right.
can
They
do.
choose not to
I
use
believe
covers.
you still get paid for it.
Right.
Like you still get the money for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know enough about that, and I don't want to just like
Yeah, you don't want to just throw them under the bus.
I don't want to add my voice to like something that we can all obviously tell that that's not the same.
His best work.
Yeah, it's not his best work. Is not the same quality. I would hope that were I to do something that was my best, that people would be kind to me as well.
Yes.
But professionally speaking, I feel like Marvel should have really considered what they were doing with that, and not maybe putting an artist in that type of position.
Mm-hmm.
To unless he was just like, no, this is fine, this is what I want to do.
Right, like if he's like, this is exactly what I want to put out in the world.
Don't have enough information about this to really like to talk about this thoughtfully.
Mm-hmm.
But admittedly, that looks like something happened.
Yeah. It doesn't look like we have the full story.
Yes,
is what that suggests to me.
Yes,
but
and I mean, like everybody, it's funny when you're in a if you were to go to a museum in public, there'll be things where you don't like, but you're not shouting as loudly as possible.
No, it's true. You're not creating a Reddit thread where you're just like piling on it.
Yeah, it's just a different situation. You can go to like a museum or a gallery and look at a piece of art and go like, that's not for me, or I really don't like that. And have a discourse about it because you're in a space with like
that welcomes that kind of conversation.
Right. But it's the internet. It's different. It's in a vacuum. You don't know the history behind this. A lot of times, especially when you're in a museum, you're looking at art that has existed for quite a long time, and we know a lot about the artist and the situation upon which it was created. I just don't know.
I don't know.
That's it's unfortunate.
Right, it is. Rami Darwish, someone updated Wikipedia with this picture, which is frustrating. Gladly it was removed. I'm glad they changed that, because that's the other thing is that John Cassidy's drawn so much amazing work over the years that like it's frustrating to see like his work, like or let's say not his best foot forward.
Yeah.
Representing the artist. Like that's not fair. We don't do the same thing to Frank Miller. Because like we can argue Frank Miller's best work, it has not been at the fore on the variant cover scene for a while, and yet people still hail like Dark Knight Returns and 300 as some of his best work. It's not fair. But it's true. Let's recommend some comics that come out this week that we think you should check out. Quick Stops Volume 2 #1 is coming out from Kevin Smith and Ahmed Rafat. I'm gonna check this out. We'll see how it goes. I would love to talk more about it, but we'll see how it goes. The Ultra's #4 from Tim Seeley and Jordan Blum with Bloom with Patton Oswalt and Christopher Mitten and Tess Fowler is continuing. I believe this is the last issue of the series, and I've been enjoying it ever since. Okay. So check that out as well. Waller vs. Wildstorm #4 is a book that I would like to read. It is the final issue in the Waller vs. Wildstorm series from Black Label.
Okay.
I really, I'm just fascinated by this book's existence. David Pepos' Punisher #2 is coming out. We're going to see where this book goes and what's going on with this new Punisher with his ridiculous name and his reluctant origin. And of course, Captain America #4 from J. Michael Straczynski, creator of Babylon 5, will be coming out as well. We're also getting Batman City of Madness, which is a book that reminded me I needed to read the first issue because I still haven't, from Christy Ward.
Okay.
Derp. And we'll go from there.
Okay, cool. I wanted to give like really quickly. I was like, I have to remember books for horror stuff.
Yes.
Just going back really quickly.
Yes, going back to horror books.
Little Monsters. Also, if you're into zombies, what about Deceased?
Oh yeah, Deceased. That's a good one. Yeah, he would enjoy that.
You know what I mean? Like it's just right
it's hopeful,
there.
Good.
It's just right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't read it, but I've heard really great things about Stray Dogs. And also I did check out Silver Coin, so it's more anthology stuff. There's so many books out there. It's really I need another like what else do they like?
Yes.
But yeah, anyway, so what are some things that I am going to be suggesting for this upcoming week? Dark X-Men #5 is coming out. Steve Fox. This is the Goblin Queen Madeline Pryor versus other Madeline Pryor book.
Oh yeah,
I like this book. Moon Knight #30. Is Moon Knight dead? Let's find out, everyone. Let's go on this journey together. Jed McKay, we're finishing it up. I have read an entire run
of Moon Knight.
I read 30 issues. I will have read 30 issues of Moon Knight. Hopefully we'll be getting something more. This one will be a 40-page book, so it's gonna be a little extra in price, but definitely worth it. this has been a good run. I don't know if we're going to see something more from him. I mean, when McKay ended with Strange, and we got.
I bet we
with
get a
Clea,
series called
something.
Death of Moon Knight, and then a Moon Knight
Listen, I
Volume
don't
2.
care. I'm just saying, like, I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And
you did.
That's it. I don't usually read the previews. I just like I
No,
you guys.
yeah.
X-Men Red number 18. Freaking L. Ewing, man, just writing this fantastic book. I love this.
Yes.
Freaking Genesis, Apocalypse, Storm. Just Storm, man, it's so great. Shout out to Phantom Road. I got to catch up on this book. Jeff Lemire, Gabriel Walta, just so good looking. Again, another horror book. Batman Santa Claus Silent Night number 2. You know I'll be reading this.
Yep.
Jeff Parker talking about that. Over at IDW. I've been waiting for this one for a while. I feel like. But Dark Spaces Dungeon number 2 coming out. Scott Snyder, Hayden Sherman.
Yes.
I like this book a lot. I know it's not supernaturally based. I really
no,
do
but
like
it's
horror
based.
It's scary.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted to give a quick shout out that Sabrina the Teenage Witch holiday special is also coming out. Kelly Thompson writing this. If you're like randomly, I'm like, oh yeah, remember Sabrina? Freaking yes. Right? I like that a lot. I also thought that someone mentioned that the
Danger Street is ending, but I didn't see it on the docket.
Oh, it's here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Danger Street's wrapping up, and now I can finally read it.
And at long last, Sal could finally read it. It's never going to load for you to be able to talk about it.
No, don't worry about that.
But that's okay. No, I thought someone mentioned that the whatchamacallit, the DC.
Oh yes, the Gavin Guidry mentioned the DC holiday special.
I can't find it.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but
that doesn't mean it's not coming out.
I'm sure it has a ridiculous name.
That's usually what it is, and I can't like identify it. But if you like those, be on the lookout either this week or next week for that. If you like the anthologies where it's like a bunch of short stories that DC puts out, because it's good stuff.
And there's a rumor that X-Men Red ends with this issue. By the way,
that would make sense. It really would.
Oh well, if you like,
yay!
You like Gavin's art, you should check it out. He's doing a Superman story in that holiday special.
Yeah, I do like those holiday specials. I love checking out like just the little mini stories that they have. And good stuff.
Yeah.
I can't find it.
Nope.
I can't find it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means I can't find it.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
We want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thanks to our super chatters for sponsoring today's shows. Thanks for the chat, for keeping it cool, and of course, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next week with another episode of Off the Rack. And of course, make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and check out Tiffany on twitch.tv/ComicPop or youtube.com/@ComicPop Plays. All links are in the description below. We'll see you guys next time with another episode. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
So long, everybody. Bye-bye.